Football fans, grab your favorite food and a cooler full of drinks. It's time to tailgate. Whether you're serving up hot dogs and hamburgers or breaking out the barbecue, feel free to kick things up a notch with Frank's Red Hot. And when you're looking to cool it down, reach for a nice cold Bud Light. The team's going all the way this year. Make sure you're there to cheer them on. And don't forget to fire it up with Frank's Red Hot and cool it down with Bud Light. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, it's me, your Uncle Cooper. Sorry to interrupt your music. I do love music, especially when it's set at a reasonable volume. You know, music is really only as good as your speakers. The same is true for minivans. A minivan is only as good as the tires it sits on. And the button on the screen there, it agrees with me. If you click on it, it'll bring you to all the Cooper minivan tires that'll make your minivan a really good minivan. Go with the Coopers! Cooper!
Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here in the late hours of Sunday. I believe it's Sunday. Yeah, it's Sunday. From the extreme eastern part of Oklahoma. I have been on the road for more hours than I can count the last couple days, and woke up in Albuquerque, New Mexico Saturday. Drove down to Tucson, covered a game, drove back to Albuquerque, got home in the wee hours of the morning after sunrise, slept a few hours, hit the road home. You know, if you ever want to know how big America really is, go drive it. I mean, honestly, go drive it. I've seen some amazing things, but I am ready to be home. And we'll finish that drive up in the morning. I'll get a few hours sleep here, and we'll get back to Starkville in time for Mike Leach's press conference tomorrow afternoon. But we're going to go ahead and give you your show this evening so you can enjoy it in the morning. I know you guys are eager for the show. I've had several people message me wanting the Boneyard before now, but I wanted to get it done before I finished up the drive. I considered making the drive all the way back to Starkville, but then I wouldn't have had time to sleep and do the show and go to the press conference. So this is our best option. So here we are. I don't even know the name of this town, but I'm almost to Fort Smith. Wish I had time to run up to Riders, Arkansas and kiss my grandbaby, but we'll do that here pretty soon. She and her family will be in Starkville for the Texas A&M weekend. That's also Rock Vegas weekend. Hope you guys can join us there at Hobie's on Main. If you hadn't bought your tickets, encourage you to do so at eventbrite.com. I'm happy to send you the social media link. If you want to support the event and maybe you don't have plans to attend, you can buy those tickets and email them to me at srobertson@genespage.com. I would say about 20 people have already done that. One gentleman bought 20 tickets, and I'm going to put those tickets in the hands of needy Mississippi State students who need a night of rock. So you can contribute to the cause, and the cause, of course, is Mississippi State's NIL collective, the Bulldog Initiative, headed by one Charlie Winfield. And I would encourage you to always be a supporter of that. So we're going to have a great time. We're going to raise some money for our student athletes. And so we'll look forward to seeing family then. But we've got a lot to talk about. Mississippi State with a solid win last night over the University of Arizona. We're going to talk a little bit about the campus there. It is beautiful in Tucson. And for a guy that was raised in South Mississippi, you get a chance to see a lot of things that perhaps you wouldn't ordinarily see. Like I have lived life with pine trees lining the roads my entire life. Well, there aren't many trees in New Mexico. As I told you guys Friday, I went and paid my respects to Billy the Kid. Planned to get to Tombstone, just didn't have time to do it. Just couldn't get it all in. So when we come back in a couple years to play Arizona State, I plan to do that. I'll go to Tombstone while I'm down here. Probably take an extra day or two and just kind of enjoy myself as I have this time. And I have enjoyed myself. But I am enjoying the ride home. And the best thing about the ride home is that it ends at home. So I'm ready to get back, be around my kid, be around my dogs, be around all of you. But let's celebrate Mississippi State's 2-0 start to the college football season. Pretty wild weekend in the Southeastern Conference. We'll discuss that. We won't have a top 10 list today because, quite frankly, I'm a little bit tired. But I want to get the show done, and we'll get back to that on Wednesday's show. We'll do Stevie Ray Vaughan on Wednesday. I've had some requests for that. Thought we had done it. Maybe we have not. But we will knock it out again Wednesday. And if we have done it, it's never too late to do it again when you got a legend like Stevie Ray Vaughan. So we'll take care of that on Wednesday. So no top 10 today. We will get in a Close with Blair segment on the show, though. So don't worry about that. Let's thank our good friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. And I was a friend to Bulldog Burger Company prior to them being a sponsor of this show. I was already a loyal customer of Bulldog Burger Company. So I was so happy to partner with them because I was already so impressed with the quality of service. And the more that I have traveled, especially these last few days, it has made me appreciate the quality of service that I can expect at Bulldog Burger Company. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Star Vegas. That great patio area is there. Be sure and check that out when you're in town. Gloucester Street there in Tupelo. And then the newest one, Lake Harper Drive in the Ridge and Flowood area. Go by, check them out. You'll be glad you did. Have a great restaurant quality burger. Get the spring rolls as your appetizer. They will make you and everybody around you better looking. And then get that chocolate shake to go. I mean, we're talking gourmet quality food here. You can't get it anywhere else. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. MEAT. All right, let's jump right in here. Mississippi State, of course, winners last night. One of the first things that I want to say, Bulldog fans, is we've got to learn to enjoy success. When we win, rather than poke holes in our success, I wish we could move on from that. I really do. I want to preach to you here today, but reality of it is that there are times it's like, well, if we've been playing an SEC opponent. Well, we weren't. We weren't playing an SEC opponent. We were playing Arizona. It's a nice tune-up for us, a Power 5 opponent. We go into their backyard. We win the ball game. And those guys in Vegas know what they're talking about. They didn't just throw that line out there for the fun of it, right? I think that's one of the lessons learned here, too, is when Mississippi State is installed as a favorite, maybe you should pay attention. If you haven't seen State -3 this weekend at LSU, you generally get a 3-point advantage for being the home team. So that's basically saying Mississippi State is a near touchdown favorite. Now, what that line settles before now and Saturday remains to be seen. But Mississippi State expected to win next Saturday at LSU. But before we get there, let's take a look at this win over the University of Arizona. And, again, no game is complete without a little misfortune, right? But before the game started, I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. I don't know if they mentioned it on TV. The Arizona in pregame warm-ups, when our kickers are out there kicking the balls around, they're kicking our footballs off the field, like kicking them toward our sideline. There was a lot of angst, shall we say, from Arizona, kind of arrogance, and really arrogance for no reason. I mean, this is a team that's barely won any football games here in the last couple of years, and they really didn't show us any respect. And they came out with that chip on their shoulder and really kind of punched us in the mouth. But our guys kind of stood strong there and pushed back, and, of course, ultimately won the football game. But I wanted to share that with you. There was some pregame foolishness, shall we say. There was no dust-ups or any skirmishes, but it was something that was noticed. Let's just say that. All right, so Mississippi State does not win the toss. Arizona wins, elects to receive, and everybody knows that first drive, your things that are scripted out. So we get a touchback from Ben Rabin, and that was kind of the theme of the night from Ben. Ben, kind of an unsung hero in Mississippi State's win over Arizona. Arizona begins their drive at the 25 after the touchback. Shotgun snap, and they hand it to Michael Wiley, who rushed for 5 yards. And we discussed this on the show last week, that Arizona sought to establish the run against San Diego State and then used the run to set up the pass. They tried to do that against us. Didn't work out nearly as well. Michael Wiley then runs for no gain, and then it's complete to Jacob Cowing. Try to get him involved early. That's a 3rd and 5 play. They convert there on a 6-yard gain to bring up a 1st and 10. 1st and 10, the Arizona 36. DeLaura is incomplete to Tanner McLaughlin, a tight end there that's been a real weapon for them. 30 yards. Nice gain there all the way down to the State 34 to Camryon Richardson on the tackle. Incomplete there to Jacob Cowing. Jed Johnson gets a hand on it, breaks the pass up, and then Michael Wiley rushes off the right side, 34 yards for a touchdown. And if I told you that was going to be the bulk of their rushing attack on the evening, you probably wouldn't have believed me. But we're pretty salty against the run. We just didn't fit a gap here. Next thing you know, it's a touchdown. Extra point is good. The crowd is into it. It's 7-0 Arizona. State's first drive, we come out and, again, kind of establish the run ourselves. And that has been kind of a staple through 2 games for State, is that we found some success on the ground. Dylan Johnson runs for 11 yards and a 1st down. We then go to Ra Thomas, 2nd consecutive game where he makes your first reception. Brings up a 2nd and 6. We find Caleb ducking across the middle for 5 yards. Brings up a 3rd and short. And then Woody Marks, who I thought really ran the football well last year, got a little bit banged up, but did return into the ball game. There was some immediate concern when he went down later in the game, but he did return and is expected to be full go against LSU. So 16-yard gain for Woody here brings up a 1st and 10 at the Arkansas 34. It is then complete to Rah-Rah for 9 yards, makes it very manageable 2nd and 1. Dylan Johnson then just kind of runs wild here, 14 yards for the first down. I believe this is to play. I'd have to go ahead and watch the game yet. I'll watch it probably tomorrow evening. We ran a halfback lead here. Well, we got split back sets, and we had Woody run basically a fullback action there, and we followed behind him with DJ. 14 yards on the gain brings up a 1st and 10 at the Arizona 11. And then State runs up the middle for 2, which makes a 2nd and 8. And then there's Woody Marks. Hit the hole wide open. 9 yards for the touchdown. And then we miss the extra point. That's Massimo Biscardi, a guy that was brought in to make kicks, misses the extra point. So now instead of it being a tie game, we trail 7-6. All right, another touchback from Ben Rabin. Again, an unsung hero in this ball game. DeLara then is complete to Dorian Singer for 14 yards, which brings up at 1st and 10 the Arizona 39. They go back to the ground game. DJ Williams, a guy that I really thought would have probably more of a say in this game. This was really kind of his drive. Runs for 3 yards, brings up a 2nd and 7. They go back to the left side with DJ. He gets 6. 3rd and 1. And then we stack it up there. Randy Charlton and Buki Watson, a great job there. Makes it a 4th and 1. And then DJ fights for the first down. I thought we had him stop there. Second effort, he pushes ahead there and moves the chain, which makes it 1st and 10. And then the first sack of the evening, Colin Duncan comes free there. And State's pressure was all in DeLara's face. And I read some comments online. People were like, I don't understand our pass rush. We'll get to some of that a little bit later. I think we were watching a different game. I don't know if they showed a different game than the one that we watched in person at Arizona, but State's pass rush was in DeLara's face all night long. Whether we got him on the ground or not, we influenced the passer. 2nd and 20 here, and we bring the heat again, and Emmanuel Forbes gets a hand on it, and credit to Brian Ogden, Mississippi State SID liaison there, for kind of making sure that that was credited to Forbes, because Forbes breaks it up and Jalen Green picks it off, brings it back 29 yards all the way down to the the Arizona 37. And then there is a frustration foul on DeLara, who basically cracked back on Emmanuel Forbes. I didn't think there was an awful lot there. I would have been okay with them not tossing the flag. They do, which makes it 1st and 10 State at the Arizona 22. Didn't take State very long here. Dylan Johnson runs for 3 to the Arizona 19. Then a complete pass to Tulu Griffin, who gets 10 yards and a first down, sets up a 1st and goal opportunity from the 9-yard line. And then we hit Caleb Ducking on the fade there. An incredible catch. And there was some extracurriculars here between Caleb's mark. And Caleb was the better player. We have discussed Caleb Ducking several times on this show to kind of prepare you guys for this season. Ducking's a guy that's had a great fall camp. But in addition to that, too, I think he's a guy, too, that just doesn't really care. It doesn't bother him that he's not supposed to be carrying himself the way that he does. The guy's an outstanding player, and who would have known after 2 games he'd have 3 touchdowns? But that's exactly where we are. Biscardi then misses another extra point, this one worse than the first. It was the last time we would see Massimo Biscardi down in Tucson, Arizona. But State takes a 12-7 lead here, and like all of you, I'm thinking, you know what, we're going to need those 2 points later in the ballgame. Bulldog defense now with a lead plays exceptionally well here. It is a rush up the middle for 8 yards, which makes it it's an 8-yard loss here on the play, which they make it a team rush, but brings up a 2nd and 18. Then they're incomplete to Cowan, and Tyrus Sweet, all in his face there, forces the early and errant throw, makes it 3rd and 18. And then there's again a scramble type situation, and he hits Tatario McMillan, great player for them out of Hawaii. But he runs out of bounds there, so it is in charge for illegal touching. Either way, he would have been short of the line to gain. The reality of it is defense gets a 3 and out here. They punt, and he shanks it. We nearly got there. And then Kyle Ostendorp is an All-American candidate. Hit some missiles that night. But on this one, out of bounds at the Arizona 40. So right away, State having a chance to kind of build and foster that lead. after the beneficiary of that great field position. 1st and 10 from the Wildcat 40. It's Woody Marks running for 2 yards up the middle. Brings up a 2nd and 8. We then swing it out to Marks, who gets a couple yards. Brings up a 3rd and 6. And I thought this was a big play in the ball game. We could have very easily been in a situation where it becomes 4-down territory. Instead, Marks runs for 14 yards. And again, I thought the Bulldog backs really ran hard and played exceptionally well. 1st and 10, the Wildcat 22. We run up the middle, and it's one of our only negative runs of the night. They stack us up here for 1 yard loss. There was nothing there. We couldn't get any push. And credit Arizona for making a nice play here. Kyan Bars with the tackle. 2nd and 11 from the Arizona 23. Rodgers is then complete to Tulu Griffin, and then they flag us for holding. Cameron Jones flagged, and we had a decent night with penalties, but we had some penalties that were kind of untimely, shall we say. This could have proved to be one of them. And then Will Rogers gives them the hard count and gets Bars to jump off sides, makes it 2nd and 16. On that play, we find Dylan Johnson for 7 yards, which makes a more manageable 3rd and 9. And then we hit Antonio Harmon right in the hands, and he is easily going to have the first down, probably a more sizable gain, drops the football. Raven then comes on, kicks his first Bulldog field goal to give State a 15-7 lead. He follows it up with a touchback. To round out the quarter, Arizona gets the 1st and 10, their 25. It's incomplete to Dorian Singer, and again, State in his face. And then they decide to run a little tempo, and they run Jonah Coleman there for 3 yards. That runs out the quarter. Nathan Pickering on the tackle. I thought Pick had a really good ball game. So after 1 quarter of play, it's Mississippi State 15, Arizona 7. And at this point, State had 70 yards rushing in the quarter. And it wasn't just one guy. It was pretty much the tandem of DJ and Woody both running exceptionally hard. Really like the effort we're seeing from those guys. 3rd and 7, it's a no-huddle play again, and it's incomplete to Dorian Singer. And DeCamerion Richardson, who has played exceptionally well through 2 weeks, breaks the pass up, forces a 4th and 7. And then it is a 64-yard punt that Xavier Thomas basically catches like Willie Mays out there over his shoulder. Probably should let that ball bounce and roll into the end zone. Instead, he grabs it and returns it 20 yards out to the MSU 28. Probably something they'll review in film. Again, State, kind of like we had last week with Memphis. You kind of have them on the ropes here. You've put a couple scoring drives together, and then we have that untimely turnover. And again, it goes into Will Rogers' stat column, but it's not his fault. 1st and 10, it's incomplete to Rufus Harvey. Ball broken up by Jackson Turner. And on 2nd and 10, we have a ball go through the hands of I've just absolutely drawn a blank here. It's absolutely drawn a blank right here. I remember we had the ball go off our receiver's hands here. You have to forgive me. It's Caleb Ducking. I apologize. Again, I've been on the road an awful lot. But Ducking lets the ball go through his hands. It is an interception returned 11 yards by Traden Stukes to the MSU 28. So again, here we are, giving Arizona a chance to climb back in the game. But your defense stands pretty tall here, basically gives up 2 yards. There is the first down gain, Tyra Sweet with a nice tackle there, and then 2nd and 8, Jonah Coleman runs for no gain. Tyra Sweet again on the play, and then incomplete to McMillan, which forces a 4th and 8, 43-yard field goal attempt, and Tyler Loop bangs it true to make it a 15-10 ball game. And again, we're just kind of living dangerously, but you feel like State should be ahead, and you look up and we're only up 5. State puts together a decent drive here. Probably a drive we should have finished. But we had, again, some untimely issues here. So we go off left side for 3 yards with Woody Marks. We come back incomplete to Tulu, but there is a PI on the play, which gives us a 1st and 10. So we're already out there approaching midfield just after 2 plays, and we haven't really done anything, tremendous offensively, but they're gifting us some field position here. We run Marks for 1 yard, come back on 2nd and 9, and Marks gets another yard. And on 3rd and 8, we swing it out to Dylan Johnson for a 1 yard loss. And this is when they kind of brought the heat here, and we just simply didn't pick it up. So credit the Wildcat defense. The crowd was really into it. And then George, I'm gonna try it again. I'm getting some messages about this. George Georgopoulos or George. It's just George. 45 yards to the Arizona 11. All right, Bulldog defense again. Trying to get some things done here, but having some difficulty getting off the field. They're incomplete to Jacob Cowan there on first down. They come right back on second down, and it's incomplete to DJ Williams. You think, okay, third and long here. Let's get off the field. They run, I believe it's the corner route here to Michael Wiley, who gets 15 yards. He beats Jet Johnson in space here. And that's just kind of one of those things with Jet. Jet's a great player, but sometimes in coverage, it's a little bit of a challenge for him. First and 10 now from the Arizona 26. It's complete to Dorian Singer for 4. Second and 6. They finally connect with Jacob Cowan for a meaningful play here. Picks up the first down. They did a good job against Jacob Cowan, though, and more on that later in the show. First and 10, incomplete to McMillan. Second and 10, complete to McLaughlin for just 3 yards. Jackie Matthews kind of lurking there off the hash. Does a great job. That's a guy that understands football and sees the field exceptionally well. Third and 7, pass complete for 8 yards. Jalen Green on the tackle, but it allows them to move the chains. Now it's first and 10 in plus territory. It's incomplete to Alex Lyons. And then there's a false start penalty that makes it a second and 15. Second and 15, they're complete to Cowan for just 1 yard. Jed Johnson with a nice tackle in space there brings up a third and 14 situation. And then State brings the heat, and an errant pass is thrown. DeLara did not have a good night, and State really the big reason for that. The impetus behind his inaccuracy was State's pressure. So a 53-yard punt for a touchback. State takes over with 6:52 to go in the half. No huddle here as we get ready to roll here. Complete to Jaden Wiley for 5. We go back to Rufus for 4, which brings up a third and 1, and then Dylan Johnson. And in these situations, I always trust Woody and Dylan. I mean, maybe 2 years ago, maybe not so much, but I expect to convert on third and short. We do here. First and 10, Dylan Johnson runs for another 10 yards, brings up another first down at State 42. Then it's a nice throw on a back shoulder play for 18 yards to Ra Thomas. That's something that Will and Ra have looked very good implementing this year. First and 10 from the Arizona 40. We're complete to Austin Williams. 5 targets for Austin Williams, 5 catches, 2 of those for touchdowns. Second and 2, Dylan Johnson runs in between the tackles here for 5 yards to move the chains. Makes it a first and 10 from the Arizona 27. And then Cam Jones, one of our more reliable linemen, didn't have a great night last night. False start here, backs it up, makes it first and 15. And rather than panic, we go right back to DJ, who runs for 11 yards. They call timeout. Second and 4 here. DJ runs for 3 to set up, again, a manageable third and short. What do? This time, they're all selling out for the run. We throw that ball to Ra inside the 10-yard line, down at the 2 for 16 yards. Great play call there. Great execution by Will and Ra to make it a very interesting, very, very interesting situation. So from there, it's first and 2. And again, a chance for us to really cash in here. And you think we can go 2 for 1 here. But on this play, first and 2, DJ a loss of 2 yards, which sets up a second and 4. We're incomplete then to Wiley, and then we go to Ra, and it's broken up. And this was another back shoulder throw. We left the ball inside. The ball placement wasn't great here. And then Christian Roland Wallace breaks it up, which forces another field goal attempt. Ben Rabin bangs it through. So it's now an 18-10 ball game, but you feel like, State's letting these guys hang around. State is clearly the better team, but the scoreboard has not reflected it as of yet. Arizona takes over at their 25, again, thanks to a Ben Rabin touchback. It's complete then to Jacob Cowan for just 6 yards. On second and 4, they get a nice completion to McLaughlin, who was really a good player for them. I thought he had a really good night for them. DeCamerion, nice tackle here, but it sets up a first and 10 at their 44, and you begin to wonder if they're going to be able to get some points. That's the last thing you want to do when you give them the ball back with under a minute to go in the half. And so they drive again, a nice throw and catch here to McMillan, 24 yards down to the State 32, and you're really beginning to think we're going to give up points here. Next thing you know, there is a wild exchange there, and then Randy Charlton knifes through and touches Jaden Daniels down for a loss of 15 all the way back to the MSU 47. They call timeout, set up a Hail Mary, throw to the end zone, ball broken up by Forbes. And so we get into the halftime locker room with an 18-10 advantage, but it really felt like State should be farther ahead. I think we would all agree. While State had the lead, it was not a very polished lead. Let's take this time now and thank our friend Blair Chandler at closewithblair.com. Again, no top 10 list today, but let's get Blair's mention in. Blair's been a great sponsor and done a great job for some of our Boneyard listeners who are looking to refinance their mortgage, perhaps buy a home for the first time. Blair very successful in what he does, top 1% close ratio in the country. Visit him at closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R.com. Or give him a call or text today at his personal cell number. Not some 800 number, not some office number that's just going to, voicemail is going to sit there for a month before anybody responds. Blair, you're going to get Blair directly. 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. Mention to Blair you heard about him on the Boneyard. He's going to pay for your appraisal. It's about a $500 value. Again, that's closewithblair.com. Okay, let's get into the second half here. And this is where I think State began to kind of exert themselves a little bit, but we still had a little bit of that second half malaise. We still had, opportunities to knock them out, and were unsuccessful in doing so. And it's really more about us than it is about them. And Mike Leach gave them some credit, obviously, for playing hard and really competing to the end. I feel like it was our own lack of execution that kind of allowed them to hang around. That's the thing. It's difficult to impose your will when the better team has their foot on your throat. And I think if we go out and score a little bit earlier in this half and show a little more productivity after this opening drive, that we have an opportunity to go ahead and knock these guys out. But you allow these teams to have hope, and they get a little bit reckless here, and that's kind of what happened. But again, for the second consecutive game, State comes out on the opening drive and gets some much-needed separation. And while State had the lead, you want to be able to build from there. You make your halftime adjustments. And, State does a great job here, just kind of go ahead and seizing control of the game. I credit Will Rogers for a lot of this, too. Will is a guy, too, that understands the importance of these opening drives of halves. And, again, State comes right out, responds as they should. And I thought this drive really showed some urgency on 1st and 10 from our 25. We swing it out to DJ, who rambles for 8 yards here. Again, a very manageable 2nd and 2. We swing it back out to DJ again, who gets 9. 1st and 10 from the MSU 42. We're complete to Caleb Ducking for 14. 1st and 10 from the Arizona 44. It's a nice pass down to Rufus Harvey, and it's good to see Rufus involved. Rufus is a guy, there's so many things that happen, kind of runs through Rufus because you have to respect him. You start playing him tight, he'll slip by you. Next thing you know, it's a touchdown. Now it's 1st and 10 at their 24. We go right back to Rufus, who gets 7. 3rd and 3 here, and then Marks just, again, runs up the middle. It seemed like whenever we needed the conversion, we were able to get it. I mean, it was just like whenever we needed it. We don't have to go out there and run as part of the game plan. We're not reliant on the run to win games for us, but this is how it really impacts the game plan. People have to respect this. 1st and 10 from their 13. Incomplete. And they call holding on us too. And this is Dollar Bill Johnson. Makes it a 1st and 20. But rather than panic, we go right back to work. We hit Tulu for 18, which sets up a 2nd and 2 from the Arizona 5-yard line. And then we hit Austin Williams for the touchdown here. Rabin good on the extra point now. That's 25-10, and I think everybody in Starkville, those that had power, were able to kind of breathe a little bit easier here. Defense made it stand out too. Arizona gets, again, a touchback. Ben Rabin, probably your fraternity brother. We stack him up here. Cam Young with a nice tackle in the middle here. No gain for DJ Williams. DJ Williams then runs for a 3-yard loss. Mookie Watson meets him in the hole there before anything could get started. Now it's 3rd and 13. They're off schedule. I'm sure that's what they were saying in the halftime locker room. Let's go back. We kind of abandoned a run a little bit early. Let's go out here and reestablish the running game. 3rd and 13. Nice conversion here. They swing it out to Mike Wiley, who gets the first down here at their 38. And then it's a run for 3 up the middle, brings up a 2nd and 7. Jalen Green with a nice play here. And then it's a pick by Emmanuel Forbes. And he had one earlier nullified, and he was out of bounds. No matter what you may think, he was. The foot's got to come down. It's not a situation like if you're running out of bounds, you could toe tap and drag the toe. If you're on the boundary, the heel has to come down in bounds. Those are the rules. It only happens to us. It happens to everybody. But again, here's a pick that required no review. All right, 1st and 10 now. And again, State a chance to kind of put things away here. And again, back-to-back weeks, Jameer Calvin kind of unfortunately involved in a key turnover, just like last week. We're getting ready to go down. The next thing you know, we've got a fumble that's returned. And, similar situation here. 1st and 10 at our 44. You got a chance to go in here and basically deliver the kill shot. We're complete to Jameer Calvin for 7. They strip it out, give them credit for making the play, and then it's returned all the way down to the MSU 4. Really unfortunate situation. And Jameer, of course, is a senior. And listen, fumbles are part of football. Okay, I'm not sitting here, labeling him for this, but that's 2 times now in back-to-back weeks. There has not only been a turnover, but it's been returned a considerable amount of distance that really set up a scoring situation. 1st and goal from the 4. DJ runs for a 2-yard gain for them. Then it's complete to Cowan for the touchdown. And you had to know in that situation that's who they're looking for. You got to make somebody else beat you. But, hey, they get us from the 2, and the kick is good. So now it's a 25-17 game. Now it's a 1-score game again. Again, we had every opportunity to knock these guys out. We just kind of let them hang around. Or is that going to jive with the Louisiana Voodoo next weekend? I don't know. All right, 1st and 10 from our 25. We're complete to ducking for 10. Brings up another 1st down. Simeon Price then runs for no gain. Makes it a 2nd and 10 situation. We're complete to Dylan Johnson for 6. Makes it a 3rd and 4. And then we give up a sack, our first of the night. And they did have some pressure at times on us, but I thought the offensive line, for the most part, played well. But this is when we kind of had a pretty rough segment here for the O-line. It's kind of the beginning of it. And Mason Miller will be all on those guys. As a result of that. But you give up the sack there, and I guess it was 2 sacks on the night. One of them was Will's fault. This one was on the O-line. All right, so we punt, and Archer Trafford, a great job here, kind of delays the kick, allows the coverage team to get down there, and it's a 60-yard bomb down at the Arizona 6. Great job by Trafford. Great job by the coverage unit. Everybody did their job here. They start at the 6, and that's what you want when you're trying to put your foot on somebody's throat. You want to make them drive the length of the field. They nearly did. So 1st and 10, it's incomplete to Wiley. And we're in his face again. And it's short to Cowan for 9, which makes it 3rd and 1. And then we get flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct. Now, the reason that we got flagged is because on this passing play, there was a ridiculous hold right in front of the center judge, and he didn't call it. And I understand Zach Arnett may have gotten credit for it. Some other people thought it was Leach. Regardless of who it is, it was an egregious no call, and then we end up getting tagged for 15 yards here. Now it's 1st and 15, and again, 3rd and short, there's no guarantee they're going to pick it up. We gift them a 1st down and a little better field position. It's now 1st and 10 from their 30, and then they run for 1 yard here, brings up a 2nd and 9, and then it's complete to Michael Wiley, a guy that, again, a very talented player for them, and a guy that has proven to be a very skilled receiver out of the backfield. He's more than just a one-trick pony. I like his game. I do, and I think he and DJ Williams are a nice complement to each other. But he gets us here. A couple times he beat us out in the pass pattern. All right, so 1st and 10 now from the Arizona 41. It is a complete pass to Alex Lyons for 8 yards. It's a manageable 2nd and 2. And guess who? Michael Wiley that runs for 4 yards across midfield onto the MSU 47 for a 1st down. 1st and 10. They hit McMillan again. Good ball game for him, 13 yards down to the State 34, and you're thinking, you know what? They're going to score and go for 2, and we're going to be stuck. That's how it felt, right? They run Jonah Coleman for 4, and then next thing you know, Tyrus Wheat gets out there, bats the ball up. Bookie Watson picks it off. Should have scored. I gave him a little good-natured ribbing in the postgame, but 51 yards, and for some reason he's running and looking back instead of just sprinting all the way, and then a running back, Jonah Coleman, runs him down. Should have been a pick 6. It wasn't. The good thing is that State did cash in, even though it took us the other half of the quarter to get it done. Should have been done here. 1st and 10, the Arizona 11. We are complete to Austin Williams for 6 down to the 5-yard line. We go right back to him for 5-yard touchdown, and they call offensive pass interference. There was no interference there. That was not a pick play. When you see the replay, Rufus is actually making an attempt to get open, and he is impeded by traffic there, and then they flag him. That was not a designed pick play, according to the people that draw up the playbook. Mike Leach kind of mentioned that indirectly in postgame as well, if you're unfamiliar. He said, I want to get fines for some things I can't say. But we all know what happened. It was not a pick play. Will Ryder's also upset, and good job by Cole Smith kind of stepping in to keep that from escalating. So 2nd and 19 now from the Arizona 20. We hit Caleb Duckin for 9, which is exactly the right play here. You don't want to try to get it all back, but you want to make a more manageable 3rd down. That runs out the quarter. And so State, again, knocking on the door. Hey, Bulldog fans, you know what time it is. You can smell it in the air. You can feel the buzz all around you. Football is back. The thrill of the game, cheering fans, touchdown celebrations, absolute nonsense from SEC officials. But getting taken out of the game, that's absolutely out of the question. Luckily, there's Drizzly, the #1 app for alcohol delivery. With Drizzly, you can compare prices on the biggest selection of beer, wine, and spirits from local stores and get them all delivered to your door in under 60 minutes. That's right. You can even schedule them for delivery up to 2 weeks in advance if you're having a big celebration party. Now you can keep the party going without missing a second of the football action. And win or lose, Drizzly makes it easy to send the gift of beer, wine, or spirits to the fellow football fans in your life, especially if that means a little extra post-game gloating. Download the Drizzly app before game time or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. DRIZLY.com.
You made it. Here. Finally. Checked out of office to check into the sweet views of that place you've always wanted to go. You know the one. It's nice. Even the kids like it.
This place is so cool.
And they never like it.
Mom, can we go to the pool?
Look at that. Not even asking for the Wi-Fi. When you're with Amex, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. American Express. Don't live life without it.
4th quarter. Now, unbeknownst to many of you, they play Don't Stop Believin'. And their Don't Stop Believin' app is better than ours because their phones flicker. Right? You hear me? Their phones flicker. They play Don't Stop Believin'. I joked about it on Twitter. It actually worked for us. So basically what we did on this next possession is any belief they had, we removed it from them. Complete to Caleb Ducking for 7, sits up a 4th and 3. I thought we should kick the field goal here to make it a 2-possession game. I even said in the press box, this is a mistake. Mike Leach laughs at my doubt. And then he hits Austin Williams. Will Rogers does 4 yards for the touchdown. Could have gotten the 1st down inside the 1. Didn't need it. Extra point is good. Now it's a 15-point ball game. Still some time left, but at this point it felt like State had control of the game. And those of you that were concerned about that, the defense kind of made sure at this point the ball game was over. DeLaura again running for his life, short to Jacob Cowing for 4 yards. And then Michael Wiley rushes for 3 yards. It's up a 3rd and 3, and it's incomplete. Colin Duncan, a nice play there to break it up. Forces 4th and 3. We thought they may go for it. Instead, they punt. Xavier Thomas with a 9-yard return. And again, Kyle Ostendorp, other than that one shank, man, big night for him. 37 yards on the punt. Fielded at the 11 and brought out to the 20. Again, State here with a chance. Kind of put this thing away. Even though we felt good, it'd been nice to get a little more, right? Well, Rogers incomplete to Jaden Wally. Incomplete to Marks. Broken up by Hunter Eccles. And then, here we go. Craziness. Woody runs for the 1st down and then fumbles. And then behind the play, there is a holding call that is eventually declined. But everything that could have gone wrong here did go wrong, and ultimately we give them back the football at our 20-yard line. Excuse me, our 31. Arizona, again, gifted great field position. Rather than flinch, the defense bowed their backs. 1st and 10, our 31. Incomplete to McMillan. Incomplete to Cowan on 2nd down. And then incomplete to McMillan, and DeCamerion Richardson with a PBU there brings up a 4th and 10, and they get flagged for delay of game. How does that happen? You're trying to inch back into the game. It's a do or die play, and you to make the degree of difficulty all the more difficult. So 4th and 15, And then it's complete, but State's in cloud coverage, so they make him throw it underneath, and a great tackle on the open field by Jed Johnson. And Cameron Young, a great job to hustle out there and make a nice play, kind of help trip him up there. Kind of a two-man act there. But again, at that point, the stadium, what was left of it, began to kind of file out. And it wasn't nearly as many as they announced. That was the paid attendance they announced. But, hey, good for them selling a bunch of tickets. All right, 1st and 10 at the MSU 23. Dylan Johnson runs for 2. They were incomplete to Tulu. Nice PBU there by Isaiah Rutherford. And then Will Rogers is sacked. This one is on Will. Will had to get rid of the football earlier. And I understand people say, hey, you don't want to take a chance here. You just take the sack. I don't know. And then George the Jungle, 41 yards. And Dorian Singer fair catches it to 42. Again, the game's still somewhat in doubt here, even though State's up a couple scores here. DeLaura is incomplete to McMillan for 5. Then there is a personal foul on Jordan Davis, hands to the face, and it was the right call here. Allows them to move the ball to the 38. Complete for 5 yards, brings up a 2nd and 5. And then Jonah Coleman runs for 2, makes it 3rd and 3. Jacob Cowan then really should have caught this. I thought this was a catchable football, and if he does, he has room to run, but he drops it. And then it's they go back to McMillan, and it's incomplete. And again, State's pass rush in DeLaura's face. All right, 1st and 10 at the State 31. Complete to Rufus for 6. Incomplete to Ra on 2nd and 4. But it's now 3rd and 4. We hit Rufus again. Great catch by Rufus here. Rufus not scared, for sure. Gives it 1st and 10 at the State 48. And then we start running the football, start working this clock a little bit. Woody, 11 yards, and this is after the little ankle injury. He was helped from the field. He was walking around. He was fine. He re-entered the game. Seemed to be working just fine. Nice jump cut here to kind of free himself for a big gain. 1st and 10 at the Arizona 41. Complete to Rufus for 6. And then we run off left side. Will takes it and goes here and angles toward the sideline, gets out of bounds, and picks up the first down. 1st and 10 at their 29. DJ runs for 3. We swing it to Austin Williams, so reliable there, catches it again for 8 yards and a first down inside the Arizona 20-yard line. Ra Thomas in a 16-yard catch to set up a 1st and goal situation at the 2. We go to Jaden Wally there, and it looks like it was going to be a difficult catch. Well, part of that's because he was held, so he was going to have to make a one-handed grab. Sets up 1st and goal with the 1. We bring Woody. We're going to run in the red zone, and they stack us up here. Then they flag Dollar Bill and a defensive lineman both. What really happened here, though, is Winston Sharp pancakes a guy, and one of his teammates took offense. And there was a little pushing and shoving. Dollar Bill got in the middle of it, both guys defending their teammates. 2nd and 2. Then we're complete to Caleb Ducking again. An incredible catch there. Incredible catch. At this point, the game is over. There is no doubt who's going to win. It's just a matter of what the final score is going to be. Touchback, X point's good, and then a touchback. It's now 39-17 State with 3:18 to go. The few Arizona fans that were still there that were sober were already gone at this point. All right, they bring in Noah Fafita. Now, this kid is not really that big, but he has some incredible arm talent. I was so impressed by this kid. I don't know that he can be a full-time starter. I liked this kid's makeup. This kid really threw the ball well. He comes in just slinging it. Now, granted, he's going against the number 2 defense, but the kid doesn't lack for confidence. 21 yards to Dorian Singer to open up the drive. Makes it 1st and 10 to 46. Incomplete to Jonah Coleman, and then complete to McMillan for 27 yards, which makes it 1st and 10 at our 27. They run it again. Ellington with a nice knife tackle here, kind of goes in there and takes his legs out from under him. Very vicious hit. 2nd and 7. It's complete to Jonah Coleman, and then Deshaun Page really got downhill on Fafita. Probably a step too late. Gives him a 1st down at the 11. Rather than quit, second-team defense is like, nah, not going to happen. We want to be first-teamers some days too. It's incomplete to Dorian Singer, and then on 2nd and 10, incomplete to Singer again. Then it's thrown short to Jonah Coleman. State does a good job rallying to the football. Deshaun Page with a nice tackle. Sets up a 4th and 5. They call timeout. They decide to run it to McMillan. These are 2 former high school teammates laid up there for him, and Banks does a good job raking it out to end the drive and end the threat. And State keeps him out of the end zone. Will Riders, 1 more completion First and 10 from our 6. Lays it up for Antonio Harmon. Nice grab here and gets out of bounds. First and 10, Sawyer Robertson comes in with his first Bulldog completion. Complete to Jaden Walley for 7. Now on 2nd and 3, Simeon Price runs for 3. That's the end of the ballgame. Mississippi State wins 39-17. Just as we all expected. We thought State would win and cover. They absolutely did. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by your friends at Campus Bookmart. If you haven't been to Campus Bookmart lately, what are you waiting for? The new Bully Shop, completely renovated. It's all upstairs now. The greatest selection of Mississippi State merchandise in a known world. And I've been to all of them. It's incredible. Go by and check it out today. I was there last weekend. Packed. Absolutely packed. Come, bring your wallet, bring your Christmas shopping list. It's never too early to start. And you're going to be able to fill it for just about all the Bulldog fans on your list right there at Campus Bookmart. If you can't make it to town, visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. And that's BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. And that'll get you free shipping on all orders over $50. Any order less than $50, absolutely incomplete. All right, let's look inside the numbers here. You may have already looked at this, but let me give you some context, okay? Because I think some of these things are important. We don't run for over 100 yards very often. Well, we did. We did. And I've said before, I think that is one of our keys to success. We got to run just enough to keep them honest. Dylan Johnson, 11 carries for a net of 60. Woody Marks, 8 carries for a net of 53. And then Simeon Price, 2 for 2. And then Will Rogers, because he had a positive game, a long of 6, ends up just being negative 9. So it's 106 yards for the team. I think the games that we run for 100 yards, we're going to win. That's just my honest opinion. I think the math kind of bears that out. Will Rogers, 39 of 49. And, of course, he's saddled with a couple of drops, too, right? The one that went through Ducking's hand, I remember his name this time. The one that Harmon dropped. So you think 39 of 49, 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Let's say he just gets those 2 back. You know, he's probably closer to 340 and 41 of 49 with no interception. Also gave up 2 sacks. One of them was on him, one was on the offensive line. Jaden Delora, 23 of 45. There was a stretch there that he was about a 30% completion percentage, 220 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. He was also sacked twice, and he was hurried several other times. All right, let's look inside the rushing yards for Arizona. 40 yards. Michael Wiley ran for 34 yards on that touchdown, and they net 40 for the game. I told you when we recapped it. Little did you know that was going to be the bulk of their running attack, and it was. 34 yards on 1 carry, and they net 40. So the rest of the carries combined yielded just 6 yards. You don't think that says a lot about your ability to stop the run at Mississippi State? It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And it's not just because of Delora having a couple of bad sacks there. Jonah Coleman, 5 carries, 12 yards. DJ Williams, who had a really good game against San Diego State, 7 carries, 10 yards. And they bring in Jamari Joyner late. It's kind of hard to hold that against him. 1 for 2. And so as a team, they rush for 1.8 yards per carry. On the receiving side of things, Rara Thomas, 5 catches, 63 yards, a long of 18. Caleb Ducking, 7, which led the Mississippi State team, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns, a long of 14. Rufus, 6 of 54. If we're going to get 5-6 catches a game from Rufus for 50 yards, we'll take that every time. Dylan Johnson, 6 for 34. Austin Williams, 5 for 31, 2 touchdowns. Tulu Griffin, 2 of 20. I'd like to see Tulu more involved, wouldn't you? Woody Marks, 5 for 19. Antonio Harmon, the 1 for 16. Jaden Walley, 2 for 12. We tried to go to him a couple of other times, just couldn't quite connect. And then Jameer Calvin, 1 for 7. And, of course, that's the one that yielded the fumble. Now, McMillan, it seemed like we called his name a million times, but 4 receptions for a nice 69 yards. Michael Wiley, 4 for 54. But as a group there, 27 catches for 276 yards and just the 1 touchdown. They had a long of 30. Defensively, Jed Johnson, again, for the 2nd consecutive week, leads Mississippi State in tackles, 7 this time. Tyrus Wheat with 5, and it seemed like Tyrus Wheat was even more involved. He is credited with just 1 quarterback hurry. I would love to know who is charting those, because we're not getting our just due here. Also credited with the PBU. Jackie Matthews, a very loud 5 tackles, and it seemed like he was very close to impacting other plays. Randy Charlton with 4 tackles, including a sack. Buki Watson, just 4, but it felt like Buki was everywhere. And, of course, the one interception for 51 yards return. Jalen Green, 3 tackles, and then the 1 pick, and credited with the pass breakup. DeCamerion Richardson, 3 tackles, and 2 pass breakups credited as well. Emmanuel Forbes, 2 tackles, and then an interception, 2 pass breakups. He had 2 other near interceptions on the sidelines. You get loose and fast around 13, you're going to make SportsCenter. Deshaun Page, a couple tackles too. We can run our way down this, but we're not going to. But again, a very good team effort here. Special teams. Archer Trafford, 1 punt for 60 yards. And then George, 2 punts, 86 yards, a 43-yard average. And one of those, of course, was kind of short by design. But you look at this, 2 inside the 20 and 1 over 50 yards. And Archer Trafford really has always had that ability, and I think we're kind of utilizing it a little bit better now. So good night on special teams, the 2 extra points withstanding, because Ben Rabin put every kickoff, every single one, out of the back of the end zone. He also connected on 2 field goals and every extra point that he attempted, which was 3. So Ben Rabin may be your full-time kicker. We'll see. I don't think you give up on Massimo just yet, but he had the yips a little bit in his career at Coastal when it came to extra points too. It's not like this is just something that, he just got to Mississippi State and had some accuracy issues. I mean, he missed some extra points there. We've talked about it could be an issue, and lo and behold, it didn't cost us a ball game, but it certainly was very unsettling for everybody. Defensive numbers for Arizona, we won't run the full list, but Jerry Roberts, we talked about him last week, had a big week against San Diego State, 10 tackles again. So Jerry off to potentially an all-conference season for Arizona. Hunter Eccles with 9 tackles too. Jackson Turner was credited with the fumble recovery return for 47 yards. Also forced and stripped the fumble too. So good ball game for Mississippi State. We didn't play our best. And that's what's kind of scary is you look at the fact that we have beaten 2 opponents handily, and we haven't played 4 quarters of football yet. We had, again, the third quarter malaise. We come out with the opening drive of the second half and do a great job with that. And then it's like, okay, we're done. But we're not. We've got to maintain that same level of energy throughout a ball game. That's what I think needs to happen to beat LSU. We're not going to be able to go out there and just kind of go through the motions and hope for the best against LSU. It's not going to happen because you know what's going to happen down there. They're going to have, 101,000 crazy people and then a few of you out there trying to devour us whole. And if you've never played a game at Tiger Stadium or never attended a game at Tiger Stadium, when you're down there at field level, it feels like the ground is going to open up and swallow you whole. Now, we as a team have played in some very hostile environments. So I suspect we'll handle the crowd noise just fine. But what do we do when it's not LSU getting on a roll, but it's us getting LSU on a roll? We've been very fortunate in the respect that the last 2 ball games, defensively, we've been able to step up. And maybe that continues, but it shouldn't always follow the defense. When the offense comes out that first drive of the second half and puts ball in the end zone, we've got to maintain a sense of urgency. And I think our offensive line kind of, relaxed a little bit. I think that showed, and that's something Mason Miller will have to correct, and I'm sure that he will. But we're not going to be able to get away with that at LSU. You're just not. I mean, you saw it at Florida State. Florida State is in charge, 17-7. That game should be over. And next thing you know, the Bayou Bengals, with the Cajun Voodoo, all of a sudden find a way to make that game awfully interesting. You can only imagine how that's going to happen and kind of play out in Baton Rouge itself. So it's important to kind of note that. We are not going to be able to have these third quarter, malaise type moments. We're going to have to find a way to have some offensive consistency. Even if we're just flipping the field and winning the battle of field position, ideally you want points, but we certainly can't have these 3 and outs. And some of those 3 and outs are the negative, the kind of net yardage, negative variety. Can't allow that to happen. You just can't. Because all it takes is one play at LSU, a block punt, or, they're always waiting to explode. And those fans, most of them will never quit on that team. And that's the thing, too. They're going to be there in numbers because they think, hey, we're starting SEC play. We're going to turn the season around. We had the big offensive explosion against Southern. We have fixed our issues. I don't know if it's true or not, but you better expect State to see a very hostile environment in Baton Rouge. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by our friends at Portico. We've mentioned them so many times on the show, and it's not just lip service. If I was moving to Starkville now, I would move to Portico. You can say, well, Steve, why don't you move now? It's a little more complicated than that. You going to buy my house? Okay. We can talk about it. But here's the deal. Maybe it's your ballgame weekend retreat. Maybe you said, I've always wanted to have a place in Starkville. Maybe now is the time. Portico, 1.1 miles away from the Mississippi State campus. You can start with a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home, go all the way up to a 4-bedroom, 4-bath home. And whether it be your future retirement home, maybe it just be your second home, they're going to have something for you. Could be your primary residence. It would be for me. I'd love to live that close to campus, but you're on the convenient side of campus, not the busy side of campus. Go by and check it out yourself. Turn off 82 on a 12, like going to campus. Take the very first right, which is Pat Station Road. Go through that 4-way stop. There's Portico right to your right. A self-guided tour, if you will. You need more information, you call my friend, your friend, Mississippi State's friend, Brooks Bryan, 601-416-8075. Again, 601-416-8075. Make Portico your next move. All right, in the final moments we have together, let's look around the Southeastern Conference. That's the thing about covering games. Sometimes it's difficult to kind of keep up with what's happening. I had so many of my friends, because I was driving down to Tucson, I was listening to the Alabama game, and I had so many people like, oh, did you see this? No, I didn't see it. I'm on the way to the game. I didn't get to sit home and watch football all day like some of you. I was at Arizona. But Alabama, they did what Alabama does, and that's find a way to win. They were not good in this game. Bryce Young, not good in this game. But when the game was on the line, Bryce Young runs, desperation, third down conversion, sets up a game-winning field goal. Alabama wins 20-19. And you know as well as I do, once Bryce Young ran out of bounds, what the outcome of this ball game was going to be. So 20-19, give Texas their due. They're not back, but I tell you what, I don't think most people expected this game to be close outside of the people in Austin, Texas. So tip of the cap to them. We don't believe in moral victories here at the Boneyard, but I give Texas my respect because I did not expect them to compete with the level in which they did. A game that went pretty much as I expected, other than the fact that South Carolina scored a few more points than maybe I expected. Arkansas wins 44-30. Arkansas might be the best-looking team in the SEC right now. What? Yeah. And I know it's 2 weeks in, and we went through this last year. Arkansas got off to the big start, and everybody's like, hey, look at these guys, and then it didn't quite work out. But Arkansas's playing well. 21-9 lead at the break, and never really felt that they were out of it. South Carolina comes back and scores in the third quarter to make it a one-possession game, and then Arkansas wins the fourth, kind of going away there. So they win. And Spencer Rattler with a big ball game, 376 yards, also had a safety, took an intentional grounding call in the end zone late in that ball game for a safety. That's just stupid. You can't do that kind of stuff. But Arkansas 2-0 now and picked up a very valuable win in the Southeastern Conference. Wake Forest and Vandy, a game for a quarter, and with Wake's quarterback back, Hartman, you kind of knew that Wake would probably run away with this. They do. Vandy's offense somewhat one-dimensional. Wake wins 45-25. The former Fighting Brett Hobarts with a 20-point win in Nashville. Kansas State did what we expected them to do against Missouri. We knew they would score. We knew the Missouri defense was somewhat questionable. They ran the football with some authority. They win 40-12 in the Little Apple. I don't think anybody that picked this game truly expected Missouri to win. Those defensive issues are still an issue. And I'll tell you this, too. Kansas State, under Kleiman, they bring a real old-school mentality to the line of scrimmage. I mean, they want to go out there and physically impose their will. And when you've got a defense that believes tackling should be optional in college football, it's going to be a long day, and it was. Kansas State wins every quarter of a ball game. I mean, that didn't always happen. They did. 40-12. Tennessee. Watched the ending of this game when we were at Arizona Stadium. Jason Crowder and I. 34-27 win. I expected Tennessee to win. I didn't think it would be quite this close. And I contend to you that Tennessee remains the most underrated team in the country. I don't know why people are so reluctant to get on the bandwagon. They go on the road and beat a top 20 opponent, and they win the game. A team that beat them last year. Give Tennessee some credit. And this game was nip and tuck the whole way through. You knew it was going to go down to probably a final possession. It did. And Tennessee with the dub, 34-27. Probably the biggest story of the weekend. Appalachian State goes into College Station, Texas, and wins 17-14. Now, I thought Appalachian State would make this interesting. I picked A&M to win and App to cover, so I guess I get the win there because that's how we pick as a spread. I never expected Appalachian State to win this game. I just didn't think A&M would cover. Guys, A&M and Jimbo Fisher, this is Gus Malzahn. They are an 8-4 team, period. The years that they're not, that's the exception rather than the rule. You don't think this team's going to lose 3 more games? You kidding me? Not that Jimbo's going to any danger of getting fired, but they're proven to be one of the more overrated teams in the country year in and year out. It's almost like Florida State baseball. So, huge win for App State and huge loss for A&M, who was ranked 6th in the country. I said on the show last week that they were overrated at 6. They proved me right. Georgia, 33-0, kind of a pedestrian win there. You didn't expect that. There was no line in the game. I expected a bigger blowout, but, hey, good enough. Kentucky goes into Gainesville and beats Florida. I picked Florida because Florida was playing at home. I have to give Kentucky credit. I don't like them. I don't like them. I think they're extremely overrated. I think Will Levis is getting way too much hype. But they win the game. And it really, that second half, it wasn't close. Florida completely shut out in the second half. Now, it's one of the things that we talked about is Mark Stoops gave Dan Mullen fits defending his own read. It's like he kind of had the kryptonite. Did that carry over? It absolutely did. Richardson is 143 yards passing. And it's incredible to see the Georgia fans take such glee in this. But Kentucky now has won with 3 of 4 against Florida. So 26-16 winners. That's going to be a big win for Mississippi State. We go to Lexington beat those guys. Ole Miss all over Central Arkansas. 59-3. Played a couple quarterbacks, I guess. Mingo with 103 yards receiving. Game was never in doubt. 28-0 first quarter. Anybody expecting Central Arkansas to make that a game has not kept up with anything. Conway, Arkansas is a cool place. It really is. What's his Fred's Burgers up there? Fred? Maybe I get a burger from you or not this time I'm up there. I think it's Fred's. There's a local hamburger place up there that's outstanding. DJ Looney, God rest his soul, told me about the place. And when Ani lived in Conway, we went there just about every visit. It's a really good place. San Jose State really made this an ugly game for Auburn. San Jose State is not any good. And they lose 24-16 on the Plains. Auburn is 2-0. But remember this time last year, everybody was talking about how great that offense was? Nobody's saying that now. Nobody's talking about that Auburn offense now. T.J. Finley, 167 yards passing. Leading rusher for Auburn, Robbie Ashford, backup quarterback, 61 yards. LSU, Mississippi State's next opponent, all over Southern, 65-17. Listen, this game was not a contest. And really, I admire LSU for writing this check because you're going to pay an FCS team to come up there basically and play a sacrificial lamb. Why not pay your across-the-city neighbors? And Pete Richardson did a great job at Southern for years. I'm glad to see this happen. We knew Southern wasn't going to win, but you know what? Southern will make good use of that money. But it's 65-17, and these offensive numbers are gaudy. And you're not going to be able to draw any conclusions from this whatsoever. I think it's important to kind of understand that. Jaden Daniels, though, a pretty big ball game for him. 10 of 11, 137 yards, 3 touchdowns. They brought in Garrett Nussmeier, too. He went 13 of 23 and threw 2 picks. Good chance we see both of those guys next week. They kind of did a running back committee thing. Butte is the guy, Keyshawn Butte. That's the guy right there. He is one of the more talented players in the country. That's the guy that we talked about the enemy of the state. That's the enemy of the state. That guy killed us last year. League neighbors, 3 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown. They kind of spread it around a little bit, but listen, again, you can't draw any conclusions from this, but you have to understand LSU is going to show up prepared and ready to play. It's important to understand that. Anybody that thinks we're going to sneak up on them, kidding yourself. And the fact that we've been named a favorite in that ball game, we'll have their full attention. We're not going to go in there and steal a win. We've got to go in there and earn one. And then you saw back in 14 with Dak and those guys, we had them completely on the ropes, and then we kind of had that Mullen malaise, and they come back, and next thing you know, it goes down to the last play of the game. Should have never happened. When we had our chance in 17, we made sure it didn't. 37-7. Looking ahead to next week, we'll preview these on Friday. Youngstown State, 2-0 at Kentucky. Not expecting a game, but Youngstown State, I'm sure, will get out and compete. Abilene Christian, 2-0 at Missouri. Are the Tigers on upset alert? Shouldn't be. Georgia at South Carolina. South Carolina looking to get off to an 0-2 start in the SEC. Penn State is at Auburn. You got to like the Nittany Lions in this one, don't you? That's a CBS game, too. Ole Miss at Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech now 1-1, but we all saw them play against Clemson. Now, they're going to have a tough time scoring. Now, of course, that Ole Miss defense sometimes kind of plays a role into that, too. They were much improved last year, but what's Georgia Tech and a running quarterback going to do? I just don't think Georgia Tech can score with Ole Miss, but we'll see how the week goes. Vanderbilt at Northern Illinois. Vanderbilt had a chance to open up 4-0. Probably a good chance for them to win their final game of the season right here. I still think they'll challenge South Carolina and Ole Miss a little bit. I don't think they can score with them, but the run-first quarterback sometimes gives Ole Miss some trouble. And Vanderbilt always gets up for that rivalry game. Sometimes Ole Miss does. Sometimes it sneaks up on them and they lose. And then they're like, I didn't know they were our rivals. Well, they are, whether you want them to be or not. It's going to be a big ball game. Be a huge ball game. Could be Ole Miss's season. All right, UL Monroe is at Alabama, and God bless them. Absolutely, God bless them. And then, of course, State's at LSU. Missouri State at Arkansas, and then Akron at Tennessee. So Tennessee looking at a 3-0 start here. South Florida is at Florida. Florida should be able to out-athlete them without any trouble. And then Miami going into Texas A&M. That's an 8 p.m. kick. That's going to be an awfully interesting ball game. Of course, Miami trailed early to Southern Miss and then absolutely steamrolled from there. If you're the Texas A&M Aggies and you just lost to App State, what is your focus this week? Right? I mean, it's incredible to think about the position they're already in. The last year, they turned it around to beat Alabama, but did you forget they lost to Arkansas and both Mississippi schools as well? That's kind of the Jimbo Fisher deal. People forget Florida State was already trending in the wrong direction. It's like Jimbo got out one step ahead of the fire. So we'll see what happens with that. But listen, we're going to cut it short today. As I told you guys, I got to get into bed, and then I got to get on the road. And I will be there at Mike Leach's press conference. Look forward to that. I don't want Leach to think I'm a slacker. It's like, oh, Steve, I saw you in Arizona, but you missed the press conference. Well, no, I'm here, Coach. I'm here. To borrow a phrase from a previous coach, I shall give relentless effort. If you hadn't done so, go to dogpiletobook.com, and you can order all of my sports books there. You can get them signed. You can get them personalized however you'd like. Looking for my poetry book, Blooms of Oleander, you can find it at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, BooksandMegan.com. And Stark Villains gear always available at StarkVillains.com. A lot of people ask, like I wore a Stark Villain shirt Friday, on Maroon Friday. Hey, where did you get that? Well, StarkVillains.com. What could be easier than that? Be sure and go check that out. But again, we'll have a good week this week. It'll be again Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We'll be on schedule. Eager to hear what Mike Leach has to say. He doesn't give you a whole lot on Mondays, but I think this weekend, I think we learned a little bit about the team. But I think we also learned some things that are somewhat concerning about the team. That we lose focus from time to time. How do we train our focus this weekend against LSU to ensure that we get out of there with a win? Because if State gets out of there with a win, you're looking at a 4-0 start right out of the gate, because you got Bowling Green the next week, right? And so then all of a sudden you start thinking, okay, is this season unfolding before our eyes a little bit better than maybe we had anticipated? And that's what makes this such a big game. A lot of people, including myself, had written off that LSU game as a loss. You find a way to go down there and win that, and all of a sudden I think it changes your expectations a little bit for the season. And LSU's going to have athletes, and we're going to preview them much later in the week. But I think the reality of this is that this is a golden opportunity for State to go down there. But I think in many respects, too, with State getting all this respect, it's going to kind of poke the bear a little bit. So we're going to have to bring our best effort. I know that Will Rogers will have his guys ready to go. I know that even though we've won these ball games, we've had some teachable moments. So nobody can rest on their laurels. And I think you have to look at OSU kind of like that wounded tiger. That you can't get too close for him because he just might rip your head off, right? So we look forward to seeing you guys back on campus next weekend when we play Bowling Green. But if you're in the area, please head down to Tiger Stadium. I know many of you don't like to do that because the fans there are not quite as hospitable as they are in the rest of the conference. I've had some negative experiences there too myself, even though I lived there for 16 years. But the reality of it is I would not let anybody get in the way of us going supporting the Bulldogs. And to all of you Bulldogs that made the trip to Arizona, tip of the cap to you. Many of you went a long distance to do that. And again, not judging anybody that didn't, not trying to make anybody feel guilty. Just a tip of the cap to those that made that extra effort. And I tell you, I had a great time out there. I had a great time in Southwest United States. I have passed through there before, but I've never truly had a chance to visit until this time. And I got out and did some really cool things. Went and did all the Breaking Bad stuff. Went and saw Walter White's house. That's right. And the people that live there don't want you taking pictures of their house unless you're across the street. They got signs up and everything. I tweeted it out, and it was just so incredibly ridiculous. But can you imagine being those people with all these Breaking Bad people like myself that are going to just go by to catch a glimpse of the house or whatever? And they've painted the house. They've tried to change the look of it. They finally put a fence up to keep people from throwing a pizza on top of the house. It's a big scene in the series if you've never seen it. They put a fence up, got all kind of stuff out, signs out there, leave us alone. And you kind of hate it for them, but I'm just thinking to myself, why don't you just sell the house? You could probably sell it to some big Breaking Bad fan that might be willing to make a museum out of it or something. You know, I don't know if your neighbors would like it or not, but you know, you have a famous home, you're going to invite some of those people over whether you want to or not. But again, made the rounds, went and saw Better Call Saul's nail salon. And if you've seen that, you know what I'm talking about. His initial office was like in the back room of a nail salon. And that shopping center is basically like a third world country now. Like it was the anchor stores, there was a fire there. And so basically you just have like your out parcel strip right there. And there's only a couple of those places that hold tenants, and the nail salon being one of them. Ladies, very nice there. Very nice. Not that I need to get my nails done. Maybe you do. When you're in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area, you can go by and do that. But a lot of cool stuff out there in the Southwest. And again, for a guy that grew up in South Mississippi, you know, I've seen these stuff kind of in movies and kind of passing through, but it's a very picturesque part of the country. And if you traveled out there like I did, many of you flew. I didn't. I like to drive. I will drive to Alaska, but I won't fly to Birmingham. I don't enjoy it at all. Had some negative experiences flying. And made a deal with the man upstairs one time. If you get me off this point, I'll never fly again. And so, yeah, I've had some negative experiences. But I like, it's not just the driving, man. I enjoy getting out and seeing things like this. I mean, when else am I going to get a chance to go pay my respects to Billy the Kid, right? And I'm going to tell you this, too. A lot of people are like, oh, Steve, it's so cool. You got to kind of plan that because you're not just going to happen up on it. It's like 3 hours away from Albuquerque. So maybe when you're on your way to Tempe, maybe you're driving out there to watch us beat Arizona State here in a couple of years. Maybe leave a day ahead and go by on the way and see Billy the Kid. It's a cool thing. It's not some big production. They do have a museum and there's some cool stuff there, but it's just kind of like knowing that you're right there at the gravesite of some American history. It's a pretty cool thing. And so I enjoyed going. But a lot of people say, Steve, I'm glad you did that. I never know what's going to strike me. You know what I'm saying? You just never know. Like, I've been to Robert Johnson's grave, and I'm a person that believes in having respect for the dead, and not that I visit cemeteries a lot, but there are just some people that you learn about, and you're like, you know what? I'm a fan of this person, and I want to go honor their legacy, and that's kind of how I felt about Billy the Kid. And so, but again, it's a great area of the country. I can see why people love living out there. The weather's great, and I submit to you this. After spending a few days out there, I didn't get altitude sickness like some other people do. But I will tell you this talk about heat in the Southwest, please stop having that discussion with me because you're absolutely wrong. as somebody that has lived in the Southeast and then visited the Southwest on multiple occasions now, please do not talk to me about temperatures. Hot is hot. I get it. I understand it. But there is a difference between 100 degrees in Tempe, Arizona, and in Wiggins, Mississippi. So much, and let me tell you this, the people that can't take the heat in Tempe would never be able to take the heat and humidity of Stone County, Mississippi. It just absolutely, you want to know why the SEC is so dominant in sports? That's why. That's why. It's because we have to deal with this year round. It makes us tougher. So when the Civil War breaks out, and I'm talking about the global Civil War, right? When the Russians finally invade, the last stronghold of this country is going to be in the Southeast, and we won't even have to really go toe to toe. We'll just go hide in the woods and let the humidity take over. They'll lose interest. We're tough, and there's a reason we're tough. But anyway, no, I mean that as good-naturedly as I can. It was a great time, and the people out there are fabulous. The food is great. The gift shops are great, and you can buy so much Native American type art, and I love that. And I love being able to do that in Mississippi too. But I tell you, when you're out Southwest, everything is just a little more vibrant. It's just a little different deal. So again, I thank you to so many of the people that I met out there. I've met some great Bulldogs from Arizona, some from New Mexico, and many of you at the game came up and said hello to me. And listen, again, thank you so much for going and supporting the team. And many of them don't get a chance to tell you thanks. So on their behalf, let me tell you, thank you. And got to give them the fist pump as they were pulling out yesterday on my way to the parking garage. And very proud of these young men and very proud of this university. And so we look forward to being back with you guys on Wednesday. I'm going to get into bed, and then I'm going to hit the road home. So by the time many of you are listening to this, I will already be on the road to Starkville and in hopes of making it in time for Mike Leach's press conference. But until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.
Football fans, grab your favorite food and a cooler full of drinks. It's time to tailgate. Whether you're serving up hot dogs and hamburgers or breaking out the barbecue, feel free to kick things up a notch with Frank's Red Hot. And when you're looking to cool it down, reach for a nice cold Bud Light. The team's going all the way this year. Make sure you're there to cheer them on. And don't forget to fire it up with Frank's Red Hot and cool it down with Bud Light. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, it's me, your Uncle Cooper. Sorry to interrupt your music. I do love music, especially when it's set at a reasonable volume. Music is really only as good as your speakers. The same is true for minivans. A minivan is only as good as the tires it sits on. And the button on the screen there, it agrees with me. If you click on it, it'll bring you to all the Cooper minivan tires that'll make your minivan a really good minivan. Go with the Coopers! Cooper!